dark psychology, mind control, and manipulation secrets. Written by Norton Raven. Narrated by Stephen Lowe. Introduction. Why does psychological perception of any danger cause physical responses? The answer is in human anatomy. More exactly, in the reasons of pain appearing. Is psychological pain similar to physical pain? How does pain occur? With physical pain, everything is quite clear. We do not take into consideration simple motor reflexes that are performed under control of spinal cord. During physical receptor sensation, the nervous impulse is transmitted via nerves to corresponding brain part. Then the brain transmits a response impulse to an organ. How does psychological pain occur? Our body has such features as self-regulation of all physiological processes. In other words, brain responses on the changes in the chemical processes in the body. Probably, under the influence of emotions in the body, occurs some kind of change. For example, in blood composition. Then it is transmitted to the brain, and again the response impulse from the brain is transmitted to one of the organs, and thus pain occurs. This is called the psychological cause of the pain. For example, when you fear darkness, you could suffer from heartache or discomfort in the throat. You feel like somebody stops your breathing. Here, you fear not darkness itself, but something that can be in the darkness. It is based on received information about it during your life. A little child never fears the darkness until he or she is being told what can be in it. Let us call it conscious fear. Such phobias as fear of a concrete situation or object that frightens you with something and creates a feeling of fear and horror are also referred to as conscious fear. Because you feel this fear because of your bad experience or negative information received from someone else. What is the nature of this fear? How does this fear occur? What do I feel? Lack of confidence? Embarrassment? Dejection? Inactivity? Anxiety? Blame? Injury? Consternation? Stress? And panic. There are psychological and physical sensations in your body, and that means that fear is interconnected with other negative emotions. One thing causes another and comes from the other, but means one and the same thing. What about unconscious fear? Or, in other words, a simple fear not based on this experience? What can it be? This could be the fear of the uncertainty, or the fear of the unidentified. For example, children fear noises, unknown things. Generally, from the very beginning of human history, people were always frightened of inexplicable acts of nature, or their fear was based on a phenomenon seen before. For example, fear of the unknown future, fear of possible fantasized negative events. How do we find out that these are bad events? We compare possible events with experienced negative ones. It turns out that we fear unknown things because we fear bad unknown things. We do not fear good unknown things because they make us happy, and when we feel fear, all good events we do forget. In other words, when we think about an unknown event in our mind, a threatening image appears. As a result, occurs a feeling of fear based on negative early experienced fear. It means that fear of an unknown thing is a conscious fear. Chapter 1. The deeper meaning of black. Black is not a color as such. Color is light and black is void of light. Actually, it absorbs light, reflecting nothing back. It is therefore warmer than white, which reflects all colors, retaining none. Although both black and white are not colors, as representatives of lightness and darkness, they are responsible for all the beautiful hues we see around us. Psychologically, black is associated with total darkness and with the unknown. It is the opposite of white. Whereas black is often associated with wickedness, white represents light, purity, and goodness. In fact, both have their positive and negative sides. White represents sunlight. This light not only gives us warmth and brightens up the spirit, but when the rays of light are too extreme, can lead to blindness. On the other hand, darkness makes everything invisible and consequently causes fear. Yet it is in the darkness of meditation that enables us to become quiet and concentrated in order to discover the inner truth, the inner light. Black and white are actually inseparable. As representatives for light and darkness, they form an absolute polarity. As soon as the light is extinguished, darkness occurs, and when light appears, darkness disappears. Like every hue, black has two very conflicting qualities. Its negative side represents shame, depression, heaviness, and at its extreme, evilness. Positively, it stands for stability, concentration, depth, weight, power, and exclusivity. It is mysterious with endless depth. Those who do not fear this will experience black as highly spiritual. Those who fear these qualities will see it as dangerous and evil. Black is used to expressing the fearful and the mystical. It stands for exclusivity or class, such as for the black limousine or the black evening dress. It is certainly the favorite hue for signifying luxury and prestige. Its immense depth gives it a powerful allure. Overcoming your fear of darkness using hypnosis. Being afraid of the darkness is not something that one should be embarrassed by. Self-hypnosis is a practice that can provide a person with a way out of this paralyzing fear. It does so in 3 ways. 1. Understanding the fear. To treat this fear of darkness, one must first understand it. Fear of the darkness is an inherent human trait that goes way back to prehistoric times. In essence, being mindful enough not to wander off in the dark has kept many of the people in ancient times safe. The reason for this is that man does not have the ability to see clearly in the dark, leaving people vulnerable to most predators, especially in the wild. The problem with this fear is that most of the modern-day security measures have rendered most inconveniences found in the dark invalid. If your place is secure enough, then being afraid of the dark is unfounded and quite problematic. In most cases today, the fear of the dark revolves around fictional specters and creatures that are imagined to be looming around in dark corners. Number 2. Going back. The fear of darkness is psychological in nature and thus should be treated like a phobia in hypnosis sessions. Most phobias related to darkness are caused by deep psychological trauma in the past, specifically during childhood. A hypnotherapy session will have you recall those memories which triggered your fear. The reason for revisiting the memories is to let you experience them once again, but this time with an older state of mind. Recalling the experience with a new perspective will be effective in letting you realize that the dark is not so scary after all. In most memories, the assistance of a professional is needed, especially if you are deeply traumatized by such an event. Number 3. Removing the fear. People tend to be more afraid of the dark the more they avoid it. In extreme cases, immersing yourself in the very thing that you feared can help you redefine your concept of it. In the case of darkness, this means depriving yourself of light to depend less on it for safety and security in the dark, especially when you're sleeping. In some cases, you might have even had to reassociate darkness with less than threatening concepts like safety, peace, comfort, and sleep. The hypnosis session will allow your brain to slowly get accustomed to sudden absences of light and help you react properly should such emergencies arise. You need not be haunted or paralyzed forever by the fear of darkness. Constant hypnosis sessions will help you realize that the dark is not as oppressive or threatening. Chapter 2. Know your dark side. All of us have a dark side, the shadow in terms of the Jungian psychology. This aspect of the self has the dark impulses, the hurtful inclinations within us. It is good to know this hidden part of the self. So here are the signs if you really know your dark side well enough. 1. You are aware of the way in which your criticisms, judgments, and anger towards other people reflect your own weaknesses. The psychological defense mechanism called projection especially colors how we think of others. Sometimes we attribute to the characteristics that are actually our own weaknesses. 2. You recognize that there is a pain, evil, and suffering in the world. Recognizing the evil around us can also help us understand that there is also an evil inside of us. 3. You know that sometimes your words or actions can express fear and anxiety. 4. You know that sometimes your words or actions can express jealousy and envy. Jealousy and envy are rooted in selfishness, a selfishness that is quite hard to root out. 5. You know that there are times your words or actions express covetousness and greed. Covetousness and greed come from our attachment to the material and temporal things of this world. 6. You know that there are times your words express contempt and spite. Contempt and spite for others are born of anger and hatred, fruits of not being able to handle frustration in a positive manner. 7. You are aware of your fears and anxieties. 8. You are aware of your feelings of jealousy and envy. 9. You are aware of your feelings of greed. 10. You are aware of your feelings of anger. Being aware of these kinds of feelings can make you understand certain actions, including saying something that you find involuntary. Sometimes we do not mean to hurt people, but deep inside, these feelings are still there, so unconsciously we do hurt people. It is best to be aware of these negative feelings and then process them through psychotherapy. Knowing your dark side enables and empowers you to begin certain life-changing adjustments. Now you can know what ticks you off, and you can begin to adjust accordingly. You can steer more clearly from temptation and other allurements. Of course, temptation does not disappear completely, but you are no longer unprepared to handle certain situations. Benefits of our dark side. An aspect of our own self is given the name of the shadow, based on Carl Jung's theories. This shadow is our dark impulses, our dark side, so to speak, a hidden part of ourself that we usually do not want to show, even to our own selves. We may not be aware of this aspect. We may even be afraid to confront it. But it is best to meet our dark side for the following benefits. You can use your creativity and imagination to acknowledge the disowned parts of your own self. Certain activities about exploring the shadow focus on drawing, mind mapping, and the like. Making association with our artistic side can enhance our connection to that hidden part inside all of us. You can heal any relationship with regard to having more honest self-examination and a direct kind of communication. Since certain relationships are damaged because of hidden grudges, the more we see what we hide, the more we can understand those relationships that are simply broken or ended for no apparent reason. You can recognize what you project onto others, which then forms some of our opinions about other people. We all tend to see in others what we expect from ourselves. So instead of truly knowing the other, we are making theories on what the other is like based on what we know from us. Almost automatically, we might tend to think and ask, what do I do if I were him or her? This is a really good question if one is aware that he or she is asking it and not using the thought to judge someone's actions or thoughts rashly. You can begin to be free of the guilt and the shame that comes with your negative feelings. And of course, perhaps, bad actions. Indeed, we could see why there is a real psychological benefit from the Catholic practice of confession. In all possible good ways, we need to be confronted with our struggle and our dark impulses to be free of them. You could diffuse whatever negative emotions that come as you go about your routine in your daily life. We need to be reconciled with negative events and situations that upset us unexpectedly. Lastly, you can achieve genuine self-acceptance, a complete kind of self-knowledge of who you are and who you can be. Chapter 3. Deception. The dictionary defines deception as deliberately causing someone to believe something that is not true. Anyone can practice deception because it is one of those sins embedded in human nature. Deception may appeal to the mind or emotions. It uses humans' desire for knowledge or information as bait to tap into the mind or feelings of its victims. Deception directed towards the mind comes in the form of knowledge that is untrue or distorted facts. When deception targets the body, it is supposed to perform certain acts at the expense of hidden side effects. However, the most serious form of deception is that directed towards the human spirit. This is serious because it can ultimately determine one's eternal destiny. Yet, because of deception, too many believe matters of the spirit are of little or no consequence. Deception of the human spirit is the most serious thing that can happen to mankind. Self-deception. Self-deception is the process of or fact of misleading ourselves to accept claims about us as true, valid, when they're in fact false, invalid. When we justify false beliefs about ourselves to ourselves, it involves convincing ourselves of a truth or lack of truth so that one doesn't reveal any self-knowledge of the deception. Self-deception is a useful strategy for believing the stories we tell, and if we're successful, it becomes less likely that we'll flinch and accidentally signal that we're anything other than what we pretend to be. It's similar to its cousins, overconfidence and optimism. And as with these other biases, it has both pros and cons. An unjustifiable elevated belief in ourselves may increase our general well-being by helping us cope with stress. It may increase our persistence while doing difficult or tedious tasks. And it may get us to try new and different experiences. When we and those around us are dishonest, we start suspecting everyone. And without trust, our lives become more difficult. Sure, it's exciting to be bright-eyed with hopes for a wonderful future, but in the case of self-deception, our exaggerated beliefs can devastate us when reality comes crashing in. We may not always know exactly why we do what we do, choose what we choose, or feel when we feel. But the obscurity of our real motivations doesn't stop us from creating perfectly logical-sounding reasons for our actions, decisions, and feelings. We want explanations for why we behave as we do, and for the ways the world around us functions. Being storytelling creatures by nature, we tell ourselves story after story until we come up with an explanation that we like, and that sounds reasonable enough to believe. And when the story portrays us in a more glowing and positive light, we like it even better. We're torn by a fundamental conflict, our deep ingrained propensity to lie to ourselves and to others, and the desire to think of ourselves as good and honest people. We justify our dishonesty by telling ourselves stories about why our actions are acceptable, even admirable. Dishonesty isn't, however, an outcome of simply considering the costs and benefits of dishonesty. We always want to view ourselves as honest, honorable people, the ego motivation. But we also want to benefit from cheating and get as much money as possible, the financial motivation. Clearly, the two are in conflict. How can we secure the benefits of cheating and at the same time still view ourselves as honest, wonderful person? Thanks to this human skill, as long as we cheat by only a little bit, we can benefit from cheating and still view ourselves as marvelous human beings. This balancing act is the process of rationalization, and it's the basis of what we call the fudge factor theory. Many of us try to draw the line where we can benefit from dishonesty without damaging our own self-image. If we want to take a bite out of crime, we need to find a way to change the way in which we are able to rationalize our actions. When our ability to rationalize our selfish desires increases, so does our fudge factor. It makes us more comfortable with our own misbehavior and cheating. The other side is true as well. When our ability to rationalize our actions is reduced, our fudge factor shrinks, making us less comfortable with misbehaving and cheating. When we consider the range of undesirable behaviors in the world, from this, there's a lot more to honesty and dishonesty than rational calculations. Basically, as long as we cheat just a little bit, we can have the benefits of dishonesty while maintaining a positive image of ourselves. Remember, 1% of people will always be honest and never steal. Another 1% is always dishonest and tries to pick your lock, and the rest will be honest as long as the conditions are right. But if they're tempted enough, they'll be dishonest too. Locks won't protect you from thieves. They can get in your houses if they really mean. Locks protect you from the most honest people who might be tempted to try your door if it had no lock. Chapter 4. Mind control. Many people use the idiom mind control for different things. In reality, it is a broad meaning that has different types. Mind control means to seize control of the mind. The question is, whose mind is being controlled? There are many different procedures of mind control that are used. Nevertheless, these techniques may have been derived from completely different sciences. So the techniques that are used for controlling other people's minds are very different from those that control our own minds. That's why there are several mind control types. So if someone wants to change and control the thoughts of others, he must learn hypnosis procedures and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Even if NLP is a toolbox focused on personal development, it can help us understand the kind of personality the individual you want to affect has. For example, using a known NLP technique, someone can control the thoughts of a person while he seems to talk to him as usual. This method is called covert or conversational hypnosis. After a while, the planted thought comes up as a new theory to the other person. While they think that they thought this by themselves, in reality, you instructed them what to think. So in this way, you can manipulate and control their mind. Traditional hypnosis from the other side involves the consent of the other person, so they let you hypnotize them and plant suggestions in their subconscious mind. Another hypnosis method, which is like mind manipulation, is the stage hypnosis. This is a technique used by showman hypnotists in order to manipulate a volunteer participant. There is a debate whether this is truly a mind control technique or a fake technique. For those who refer to mind control as a way to control their own mind, there are a plethora of means available. Some widely held ones are self-hypnosis, the Silva method, meditation, brainwave entertainment, and many more. In the brainwave entertainment, control has a completely different meaning than the first I mentioned. In self-hypnosis, one tries to induce their mind into hypnosis. This ordinarily happens with detailed visualizations by activating the right hemisphere and lowering the brainwave's frequency. These visualizations can be an easy symbolic way of achieving their goals: quitting bad habits, losing weight, and more. Self-hypnosis may be guided or unguided. Guided means that someone listens to a pre-recorded instruction from a hypnotherapist in order to get into a trance and be hypnotized. The internet is full of products that are aimed at particular target audiences. Some standard aims of these programs are quitting smoking, losing weight, helping with sexual troubles, and more. The unguided type is more difficult and involves only the person's thoughts on inducing them into trance and hypnosis. Visualizations are mainly used for this cause, and it is required that the individual will stay focused on the technique. A similar practice is the Silva mind control method. Actually, the Silva method is taught and involves simple and specific exercises to attain mind control. One of them is the 3 fingers technique, which boosts memory on demand. Meditation approaches mind control differently. While the previous mind control techniques activate the right hemisphere and the imagination of the individual, the aim of meditation is just the contrary, to stop the thought creation. There are hundreds of meditation techniques. One easy one is concentration meditation, where a person tries to concentrate his attention on an internal, breathing, or externally, candle flame, fixed position. With brainwave entertainment, mind control acquires a completely different meaning in comparison to the previous techniques. In brainwave entertainment, control refers to altering the frequency of the brainwaves to a specific value. There are particular frequencies that are associated with specific experiences such as deep meditation states or lucid dreaming. The only thing you need is a high-quality pair of headphones and a binaural beat session. There are also other brainwave entertainment technologies. Binaural beats is the most common. So, there are isochronic tones, monaural beats, and photic dive. The last one stimulates the brain using light, and it is very powerful. The history of mind control. Anyone who has ever wondered about how the human brain might be manipulated can find much information on the topic. Countless people feel that the history of the manipulation of thought is fascinating. While numerous individuals might dismiss the subject as science fiction, many others believe that thought manipulation has been utilized by various government agencies in countries across the world. Additionally, certain religious movements and cults may have exerted thought reform. If a person is to understand the concept of thought reform, examining the topic in depth is probably a good idea. Exploring the history of mind control and programming is one way to begin such research. One term that is commonly used in association with this subject is the word brainwashing. The origin of the word brainwashing may be traced to an article written in 1950 by Edward Hunter. The term was used in an article in reference to thought reform, which may have been implemented by the Chinese government on certain people, such as American military personnel who were held captive. Such prisoners may have been compliant with the demands implemented by their captors. It is possible that this behavior could be attributed to brainwashing. In some cases, prisoners became loyal to the Chinese government instead of the United States government. Some people believe that the Korean government brainwashed American soldiers during the Korean War. However, the United States Army has officially denied that this is true, after much research on the topic produced no evidence that such brainwashing was used. The official conclusion on this topic seems to be that the North Korean government did not use such a technique on American prisoners of war. In 1950, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States is known to have developed its own brainwashing program. This action was in response to the fact that other governments were experimenting with this process as well. In an effort to remain competitive in the field of thought reform on captives, the Central Intelligence Agency, which is commonly referred to as the CIA, explored the topic of brainwashing. Many individuals believe that research was performed on a covert level by the CIA for decades. Government agencies are certainly not the only entities known to have experimented with brainwashing. Various religious groups and cults have also utilized thought reform as a way of manipulating people. In the United States, cults and religious movements have implemented thought manipulation since the 1960s. One common method of thought reform used to manipulate on a spiritual level is to disassociate people from their friends, family, and colleagues. By doing this, the leaders and other members of the cult can manipulate people far more easily than they would be able to if the individuals were in close contact with the people who care about them. A book called Cults in Our Midst, which was written by Margaret Singer in collaboration with Janjal Lalich, describes the 6 main steps used to exert thought reform. There are 6 conditions that can make a person susceptible to thought reform. The first step is to ensure that a person is not aware that anything suspicious is happening. The second step describes creating a physical and social setting that is entirely manipulated and isolated. The third step is to make the person being manipulated feel powerless. The fourth step is to manipulate through punishment and reward in order to disassociate the individual from former behavior and lifestyle. The fifth step involves implementing reward and punishment as a method of making the group and its ideals seem highly appealing. The sixth and final step is to exert absolute authority over the individual who is being manipulated by the cult. Edward Bernays, who was alive throughout most of the 20th century, made much progress in the exploration of thought reform. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. Mr. Bernays believed that thought manipulation was an essential function in any social structure. Edward Bernays utilized this type of manipulation to run several marketing and public relations campaigns. Mr. Bernays ran a successful campaign to manipulate Americans into thinking that Ivory soap was better than other soaps. He also ran a campaign that used the feminist movement to promote cigarettes. The extent to which he was successful at using thought reform is impressive, and he even created propaganda that was utilized to overthrow the government of Guatemala. Although numerous individuals feel that thought reform has only been used in negative ways, many others feel that the technique may be utilized to accomplish positive things as well. Hypnosis is considered by some to be a form of thought manipulation, and numerous people have implemented hypnosis to change unhealthy behavioral patterns. Hypnosis has been used to help people stop smoking, lose weight, change career paths, and explore personal fulfillment. Hypnosis might also be used to alter thinking errors, work on anger management, and minimize anxiety. Many individuals have experienced great success with hypnosis, so it may be possible that thought manipulation can be used in a positive way. Guided imagery is another technique that can be described as the manipulation of thought. This technique is often performed in a counseling office, and a counselor typically assists a client in implementing it. This technique can aid a person in transforming negative thought patterns into positive ones. As a result of doing this, a person may be able to change a variety of habits and thoughts that have been detrimental to physical, mental, or emotional wellness. The concept of thought reform is certainly not a new one, but it is as fascinating today as it was when it was first introduced to the general public. Exploring the subject of brainwashing is probably a beneficial thing for almost anyone to do. People who are impressionable may wish to learn about thought reform, so they are not manipulated against their will at some point in their lives. Those who wish to utilize thought manipulation in order to improve themselves and their lives can find a wide range of professionals to assist them in such an endeavor. Mind games. Mind games is an expression often used by football managers and others to imply some sort of psychological manipulation of another person to gain some sort of an advantage over them. This is normally fairly innocuous stuff at press conferences to try and rattle their opponent's cages. Mind control is a creepier term and tends to be applied to any sort of situation or relationship where someone is trying to manipulate your thinking so it agrees with their own. Whilst this has probably gone on throughout history, it's only in the last few decades that it has really become recognized as an art form, almost in terms of the psychology behind it, and the various ways people can be manipulated without their knowing it. It is important to and worth making a distinction between healthy and unhealthy forms of mind control. Mind control, when used in a healthy way, tends to be about putting the individual more in control of their own life and internal resources, what psychologists refer to as a locus of control. It works for the benefit of the individual, not against them. This is often seen in hypnosis proper, not stage hypnosis. Different forms of self-help work, such as visualization of certain forms of prayer. Unhealthy mind control, unsurprisingly, tends to be more around the opposite, where someone takes away the internal freedom and the autonomy of an individual and makes them compliant or dependent on someone else. This is a really destructive way of behavior and can be used in many different forms, ranging from occultic type of control through to manipulative advertising or age-old techniques of bullying. The mind control techniques. What do you think of when you hear the words mind control? Does it sound supernatural or something that you can achieve? Most of the people think it is as something of the supernatural. The truth is that we all can actually control our minds. It is we who run the mind and feed it with whatever we want to. Controlling the mind is in our hands. What are the best ways to control your mind? Why should I be interested in controlling my mind? Wouldn't it be nicer if I could control the minds of others? If you're thinking along similar lines, you're wrong, simply because you cannot control others' minds unless you can control yours. And if you're thinking of word ascension by controlling the minds of others, you, in all probability, are watching too many sci-fi movies. Best mind control techniques. 1. Observation. What is it that separates you from James Bond? Yes, it may be the gadgets and the girls, but most importantly, he is a learner and a keen observant. Yes, you need to be an observant to learn to control your mind. Look around. Stop seeing. Start observing. 2. Leadership. The best of the leaders surely know the best of the mind control techniques. Look at them. They are so popular. Don't you think that they can control people's minds? Give it a thought. Better, think like a leader does. 3. Concentration. The people who can control their minds well are the top businessmen, leaders, and sportspersons, to name a few groups. What they surely have in common is a method by which they can control their minds. If it weren't for that, they would not have been where they are today. Concentration and focus is the key. 4. Winner. Think like a winner does. He does not fear losing. He takes it simply as a part of the greater learning curve. A winner is the most positive person you'd ever seen. Be a winner. 5. Positive attitude. This is important because unless you have it, you do not know how to do it. The more you're in the dark, the more you become prone to becoming a failure. 6. Exercise. Most people think wrongly that if they just eat well and concentrate on what they are doing, they can achieve whatever they want. But an important point is that if they are unfit themselves, they cannot take the stride for the strive. Exercising your mind and body is of utmost importance. 7. Yoga. This centuries-old, all-persuasive knowledge of yoga is what is required of you if you want absolute control over your mind. It employs the most scientific postures and kriyas that will help you perfect the mind control techniques. It is all in the mind. It is not a popular advertisement gimmick. It is a process that every individual must go through. Succeeding with mind control techniques. With mind control techniques in practice, anyone can be a better person. Have you ever reacted to someone in a certain way in 1 minute and regretted your rash actions in the next minute? Well, I bet you've ever gone through that before, and it was just an experience you would not want to experience again. There are also times when your day just didn't go the way you wanted it, and negative thoughts kept flowing through your mind, making you feel more and more agitated. And there were moments when you were supposed to do one thing, but you were just not in the right set of mind to deal with the task. The list can go on and on if you are someone who lacks the techniques to control your mind. If you are not controlling your thoughts, your mind would control you. There are many golden mind control techniques which will turn your life around and make you a better person than who you are now, and I'm going to show you one of the more effective ways. Meditation is a great and effective way to control your mind. If you are new to meditation, it is best to learn it from an experienced teacher. He or she will be able to teach the proper way of getting a start in meditation. Meditation has a long history, way back to the ancient times, and it is a very popular technique to learn among the people in the East as well as the West. Buddhist meditation is increasingly gaining its popularity, and many non-Buddhists are taking it up for different reasons. The benefits of meditation are countless, and you would definitely agree with me if you have been into meditation. However, if you want to see results, you have to discipline yourself to practice meditating every day. May it be 5 minutes or 1 hour. You will surely benefit from it. One of these great results is none other than controlling your mind. You cannot expect to see yourself effectively controlling your mind overnight. Be patient with your practice. And with discipline and good mind control techniques like meditation, you will definitely gain a lot from controlling your own mind. Unleashing the full potential of your subconscious mind by controlling your it. The human mind is a very complex matter, and it takes many years for one to comprehend its intricacies, and scientists are still in pursuit of it. This is due to the fact that the mind has the capability to travel to far-off places in a fraction of a second, and is very difficult for any person to keep it under control. Thus, we see that mind controlling needs a lot of expertise, patience, practice, and skill to bring it under the influence of the concerned person. Therefore, there is a constant chase for effective mind control techniques. Today, many mind control techniques and devices have evolved and designed, and everyone has its own merits and demerits. Mind control is a relatively neutral concept that involves an attempt to communicate with one's own mind. Studies reveal that this is a very effective technique to know about the potentials and abilities. This, in effect, helps to find out the ways and means of dealing with and use the abilities to the maximum level. The power of mind control is such that it creates a big revolution in the inner self and those around. It helps to tap the resources of the mind and synchronize with our thoughts. Controlling the mind has benefits like building good and solid relationships and wealth in life. When the mind is controlled properly, in the right way, the conscious and subconscious brain will get enhanced. Certain qualities that are helpful in controlling mind are observation, concentration, leadership, positive attitude, and exercise. To control the mind, it is essential to observe things that are happening around. Those who have mastered the art of mind control will emerge as successful leaders, and hence the converse is also true. When a person learns to concentrate and focus on one thing at a time, then it is a very effective mind controlling tool. That is why it seems that brainwave entertainment techniques help to improve the mental dysfunction disabilities, like attention deficiency hyperactivity disease, ADHD, and other mental disorders. In addition, improving a positive attitude towards everything helps to learn to control the mind in a better way. Doing regular exercise, yoga, and meditation are also other useful techniques. The first step towards learning to control the mind is to realize that the thoughts are the most motivating factor and affect the mind, and thus controlling the mind primarily involves controlling the thoughts. Secondly, it is necessary to learn how the mind operates in order to learn to control the mind, and techniques like brainwave entertainment help a long way in achieving learning to control the mind. Things you must know to gain power over the mind. Mind control hypnosis is something that everyone is capable of doing. All you need is an open mind and the belief in your own power. Just imagine gaining control over your mind. The mind is extremely powerful. We humans don't even use a significant fraction of its full power. If you can control the mind at will, then imagine how much power lies in your hands. Here are a few things you must know before you can successfully practice mind control hypnosis. 1. What is hypnosis? Hypnosis is a process of taking control of the subconscious state of the mind. Our subconscious mind is more powerful than the conscious mind in many ways. The subconscious mind is at work 24 hours a day. It doesn't stop working for even a minute. 2. What can you do with it? Mind control hypnosis can give you power behind what you can imagine. If you know how to do it properly, you could use conversational hypnosis so you can gain power over all your conversations and interactions. This way, you can easily solve problems as well as avoid or resolve conflicts. You can also use this power to persuade other people, which can be very useful when you're selling products and services. You can also use it for sales pitches to large groups and imagine the results you can expect. Salesmen will do well to learn this trick. With this particular power, you could be the most persuasive and compelling force there is in the universe. Aside from that, you can also use it for yourself. Feeling worn out? Control your mind to make you feel refreshed and free. Can't fall asleep? With mind control, you can lead your mind slowly into oblivion until you eventually fall asleep. 3. Why doesn't everyone use it? A lot of people are still, until now, not convinced by the power of hypnosis. For them, hypnosis is still a mystery. Some also pose a fearful stance towards mind control hypnosis, thinking that it's dangerous territory they'd rather not mess with. As previously said, it won't work unless you have an open mind. And if you have even a small doubt about the true power of hypnosis, you won't hold that power in your hands. The fact is, hypnosis is used even by doctors and therapists in healing, freeing, and stimulating the mind. Why would they use this method if it doesn't work? 4. How does it work? The brain works at different frequencies. This is like the language of the brain. Messages can be sent at the frequency used by the subconscious mind, and these messages will be recognized by their higher conscious level. So if you send commands, suggestions, and persuasions to the subconscious level, people won't even know that you are making suggestions in their head. 5. How to learn it. There are many mind control hypnosis techniques that can be used to get the results you want. Most of these are revealed by mind control experts online. You just have to buy hypnosis scripts, books, or CDs that will tell you how to gain this subliminal power over other people's minds. Is using mind control on others evil? Is it possible to control someone's actions by using nothing more than words? Well, history has again and again shown us it's not only possible to affect one individual's mind, but thousands of individuals and make them march against governments, states, and authoritarians. Every once in a while, a great leader comes along and influences millions of people through his thoughts and insights and have them work towards a single cause. When someone has that kind of influence, the results can be devastating beyond imagination. Such a person can make people do things they wouldn't otherwise do to save their lives. How does a person come into contact with that kind of power? It seems like he wakes up one day, decides to influence the masses, and as if by a stroke of magic, thousands of people line up behind him. He is able to instill hate, resentment, bitterness, and every other kind of negative emotion in their minds, even if the intellectuals among the masses drop their brains and follow him like chickens. The worst part is, this person knows well in advance the kind of result he is about to get by injecting such emotions on the unsuspecting masses. The great dictator Adolf Hitler had a mind control expert as one of his officers and used many techniques taught by this man in his speeches and campaigns. The source of these techniques seem to be disappearing in the present-day world. Most of these gems are found only in the old manuscripts. The problem is they are not directly named, and the present-day persuasion experts either get it wrong or are too scared to publish the whole truth. True mind control artists do not seek publicity. They operate as a secret society. They have a network of friends who consistently explore the manuscripts and share their knowledge among themselves. Mind control techniques should not be confused with 10-minute rapport building techniques. These techniques have their downside. While the salesman may get their single sale, he may lose the potential of all future sales. If the buyer happens to run a mental movie of what happened during the conversation, the buyer may feel cheated and will resent dealing with that salesman again. Mind control techniques are more subtle, and they are neither visible to the casual observer nor to a person trained in persuasive techniques. Mind control techniques are not canned formulas. They give you a deep insight into what people do, why they do it, and when they'll do it. Once you have that knowledge, you can start mixing your own recipe and vary your techniques every single time and appear as a normal individual while getting what you want from others. Chapter 5. The Dark Triad. Remorse, regret, and sorry are three words vital to adaptive living. These three words, when practiced, increase the probability of all social interactions being successful. Ignorance and/or refusal of this psychological triad lead to criminal and/or deviant behaviors with victimization as the modus operandi. Two diminutive words, "I'm sorry," is one of the most powerful and complex phrases expressed in communication. Since the beginning of civilization, this phrase has been part of the societal and cultural exchanges communicated via various languages. "I'm sorry" will always be integral to social relationships. The premise of this phrase concretely illustrates how all people are fallible creatures. Actions and/or words can offend briefly or inflict a lifelong psychological scar void of healing. Understanding the meaning and origins of "I'm sorry" will assist the reader in comprehending this powerful phrase. The actual term, sorry, dates back to prehistoric times and theorized to derive from the West Germanic term "syrig," a derivative of "syraz," with the English source denoting sore. The original definition meant both physical and psychological pain. Over hundreds of years, the word evolved into an expression of regret, now coined sorry. Despite the resemblance, the word sorry has no etymological connection with the term sorrow. This word also dates back to prehistoric Germanic language, meaning care. Contemporary German dialect uses the word Sorge, meaning to worry or feel sorrow. The term sorry is an adjective with a multitude of meanings defining different communications expressed in social relationships. From a reductionist standpoint, and adding the identifier "I'm" makes the phrase a form of apology and expression of regret. The definition of apology is an expression of regret for causing someone else trouble or pain. The definition of regret means to feel remorse or contrite about one's actions. Remorse and regret are two emotions people in general have a very difficult time experiencing and admitting. Remorse is another vital term to succinctly understand the phrase, "I'm sorry." Without the experience of remorse, it is impossible to sincerely communicate regret for one's misdeeds. Remorse is defined as a sense of deep regret and guilt for causing someone harm. Depending on the harm committed, the severity of remorse can range from subtle to severe. The societal purpose of remorse is to educate people on behaviors not acceptable in social interactions. Without the experience of remorse, people cannot learn to change their actions, leading to a more conducive lifestyle. Since the beginning of recorded history, civilization has written poetry, music, songs, and various other forms of communication in an attempt to define and express the experience of remorse. Without remorse for wrongdoings, society could not exist and isolation would be central to human existence. Humans are social creatures, surviving and thriving within a group dynamic. As part of this evolutionary structure, remorse and communication of regret are both encouraged and necessary for the survival of all people, the Homo sapiens. Given the vital purpose of remorse and regret to humanity, the term "I'm sorry" is often confounded by suspicions of sincerity. A person's character and integrity is a barometer of sincerity, and the impact of communicating remorse is directly connected to the person's intent. If integrity is deemed suspect, then attempts to apologize can easily be construed as misguided void of sincerity. Character and integrity related to being genuinely remorseful is tied to past, present, and future actions following their misdeeds. Some are unforgivable, while most are accepted, provided specific actions are exhibited after his or her misdeeds. The end product of actions following a misdeed is newly learned behaviors, reducing the potential for repetition of the specific misdeeds. An analogy to illustrate human fallibility, not addressed, changed, or redirected, would be the person who suffers from alcoholism. Although the alcoholic is secretly aware his or her drinking causes pain and anguish to others, he or she continues to drink using a variety of defense mechanisms such as denial, displacement, and minimization. Engaged in the gradual demise of his or her character, integrity, and trust by others, the alcoholic may go years before experiencing remorse and abstaining from future alcohol consumption. The process of recognition, remorse, regret, recovery, and rehabilitation illustrates the path all people should experience in the process of positive human adaptation. Without remorse or regret for actions deemed hurtful by others, the probability of positive change is minuscule. Given the depth of the human mind, there are copious defense mechanisms ready to protect someone from feeling regret for their actions. The ability to say "I'm sorry" and mean it requires an internal reservoir called conscience. Conscience is defined as a moral sense of right and wrong. This psychological construct affects a person's behavior and encourages the functional behavior. Consciousness, thinking, awareness, and self-awareness are all relevant facets of the conscience. This construct is like a glass of water ranging from empty to full. Most people's reservoirs of conscience ranges from 1/2 to 3/4 filled. As mentioned above, a part of the human condition is fallibility and proclivity to engage in non-functional behaviors. The less conscience a person possesses, the more apt he or she is at risk for victimizing others. The severest outcome of lacking a vessel of conscience would be the criminal, deviant, or sociopathic mind. The phrase "I'm sorry" is one of the most important phrases involved in the human experience. From the beginning of time and ad infinitum, thereafter, the process of recognition, regret, remorse, and rehabilitation will always be a barometer for human adaptability. Laws, religions, philosophies, and familia guidelines for raising children are all geared to manage and reduce human suffering. The goal is quite simple and easy to practice using 5 steps. 1. Expect others to become offended given the variabilities of perceptions filtering all human interactions. 2. Whether innocent or guilty, causing others harm, initiate an apology followed by empathy for their experience. 3. Verbalize a plan for not offending in the future. 4. Introspect upon and initiate paradigm shift, reducing the potential for future offending actions. 5. Never forget, always forgive, and foster mutual respect. Chapter 6. The Subconscious Mind Power Techniques. Some say that the most successful people in the world are that way because they have mastered the technique in utilizing their mind to draw their desire toward them. Imagine being able to attract what you want most, without having to do anything about it, and that it easily comes to you. Imagine being able to manifest your goals and desires by the sheer discipline of your train of thoughts. Actions are based on thoughts, and it all starts with the thoughts, which is something most people don't realize. Before we take on the techniques that actually utilize the power of our mind, it will be wise to first ask, what is a subconscious mind? The subconscious is known to be part of the mind that, though not fully aware, influences a person's actions or feelings. Some consider the subconscious mind as being synonymous with the spirit or soul of a person. It is said that it is empowered with the ability to create your reality through the messages it receives from your actions and beliefs. If this is true, then the smartest move to make will be to take a good look at your subconscious mind and think of what you want or desire. This is the embodiment of what is easier said than done. The complexities of one's life and the many experiences of both negative and positive nature will not easily enable one to fully take control of what is fed to the subconscious mind. It is only in recent years that the discovery of the creative power of the subconscious has been brought to light. Since then, numerous ebooks, learning, and audio CDs tackling different subconscious mind power techniques have been made and sold. Affirmations, mantras, devotions, visualizations, meditations, even pretense, have all been used in most subconscious mind training. An often neglected technique to attain use of the subconscious mind's power is to know the subconscious mind and befriend it. By and large, this area of the mind is considered to be one of the most enigmatic parts of human anatomy. Most consider the subconscious as a direct communication to the source, who is the ultimate creator of the universe, a higher power that wills to exist, a being that is more infinite and perfect than the cosmos itself, and the one who intended everything for what is good. To achieve effective results with subconscious mind power techniques, then introspection is the key. However, that in itself has become rare and unheard of in cultures that celebrate their physical self and being as the ultimate source. What leads to most failures is the failure to realize that the natural good intention of the source or the creator that's inherent for the subconscious mind has been derailed or at times undermined by our conscious reasoning minds. The external world's modernization and the dictatorship of what is popular, current, good, and moral take controls of one's consciousness, with the subconscious mind regulated to taking the back seat and enjoy the ride. This ultimately brings before you what you consciously think, say, and do, unless you stop and choose to change it for what is right and positive. Subconscious mind power techniques are definitely worth a try, but only if you're willing to engage in complete goodness through and through. Your subconscious mind is the key to you achieving every goal and dream you've ever desired. Here are some of the most popular mind power techniques. 1. Affirmations. Positive statements repeated to your subconscious mind to form desired outcomes. 2. Dream interpretations. Assigning meaning to dreams is an effort to better understand messages from the subconscious mind. 3. Hypnotic suggestion. A suggestion made to the subconscious mind while a person is in a deeply relaxed and receptive state. 4. Journaling. A tool used to support other mind power techniques by reinforcing efforts to connect the conscious and the subconscious mind. 5. Meditation. A state of deep relaxation that brings a sense of calm and prepares an individual for subconscious exploration. 6. Visualization. To better prepare for a similar event or activity, in reality, this mind power technique involves experiencing an event or activity in your mind as preparation. Unleashing the power of the subconscious mind. The power of the subconscious mind is something that has many people talking. It seems that everywhere you look, you run across something that talks about unleashing the full power of your subconscious mind. With the beginning of a new year, the subject is even more popular because everybody is out to better themselves. Unleashing the full power of the subconscious mind will put you on the path to permanently becoming a better person. No matter if you're trying to become more successful at work or just want to be a happier person. Your subconscious is the section of your mind that stores a variety of things that you may have forgotten about. Emotional responses, as well as our beliefs and memories, are stored in the subconscious mind. This storage area, so to speak, greatly influences our lives. Our behavior is directly linked to our values and morals. In order to change how we react to certain situations, we must change our values and morals, as well as our inner beliefs. Unleashing the full power of the subconscious mind is the only way to accomplish this. One thing that you will notice when it comes to unleashing the full power of the subconscious mind is repetition. No matter what mind exercises or techniques that you use to reach your subconscious, repetition is vital. The reason behind this is that in order to fully unleash the power of the subconscious mind, you must communicate with your mind. You need to tell your subconscious mind that you believe in what you want. With how ingrained your original thoughts and beliefs are, it could take months to change your subconscious. So time and repetition are the only ways to achieve that change. A perfect example of how repetition works on your mind is being told that you are stupid over and over again. The younger this started, the worse it often is. By people consistently telling you that you are stupid or made stupid choices, your subconscious picks up those theories and applies them to your current life without you even realizing it. In addition, no matter how hard you might try, you will not succeed at anything new because your subconscious tells you that you cannot do it because of how stupid you are. In order to change that thought process, you must tell yourself over and over again that you are smart and can do anything you set your mind to in order for your brain to adopt a new idea. Meditation, hypnosis, and subliminal messages are three most popular methods used to reach the subconscious mind, and all three of these methods rely on repetition to unleash the full power of the subconscious mind. No specific method is considered superior to any other, so you could use whatever method you prefer, or you can use a combination of methods to get you on the path to a better life. 1. Meditation is most commonly used in spiritual settings, as well as a way to relax. Using meditation to reach the subconscious mind is important because of how well meditation relaxes you, as well as quiets your mind. It is easier to focus and listen to your subconscious mind when you are not listening to your conscious mind, because of how loud the thoughts are. They are often overpowering. Relaxing and quieting your conscious mind allows any thoughts or memories from your subconscious mind to come through, and the quieter your conscious mind is, the louder these thoughts can be. 2. Hypnosis is another powerful tool in unleashing the full power of the subconscious mind, no matter what you might think. Many people find hypnosis to be a joke. They think that it does not work, partly because of all the hype surrounding this method. However, hypnosis is a valuable tool that can be used to change your deepest feelings. Hypnosis is similar to meditation in the fact that both allow you to relax, but hypnosis goes further than meditation. It is another state altogether. Hypnosis wakes up your mind and allows it to connect with your conscious mind, allowing any change in personality or behaviors to take place. For example, smokers who undergo hypnosis lose their urge to quit smoking within a few sessions. 3. Subliminal techniques, which include subliminal messages, are another popular way to unleash the power of the mind. The best part about subliminal techniques is that we often do not realize they are being used. The reasons these work so well is that these techniques are geared to reach the subconscious mind directly. The conscious mind does not even realize they are present. The most common place to find these techniques is in audio or video recordings. This has been Dark Psychology, Mind Control and Manipulation Secrets, written by Norton Raven. Narrated by Stephen Lowe. Copyright 2017 by Norton Raven. Production copy 2018 by Norton Raven.